D, I wanted to get to this comment. A couple comments here. Whiskey says, "I'd like to see more D-line recruiting." Heart of Sports says, "You're not lying. They're not swinging enough for me at D-line." Listen, I know we want to see them land the guy, get these guys committed, but they had a couple 5-stars on campus this weekend on the defensive line, and then the week before, same thing. So they've landed the most defensive, 5-star defensive linemen in the last couple cycles, right? D. David Lake had that story about a month or so ago on Inside the U, and you're in the mix for multiple 5-stars in this class right now. So I think with D-line recruiting, I want to see more size. That's what I want to see. It's more so the size and the highly recruited guys for me, which normally they go hand in hand, but I think that's what you're looking for when you talk about the D-line recruiting.
Yeah, look, Pete, pull up the Canes connection, because when we're talking about defensive line recruiting, I'll tell you what it boils down to: money. That's been the truth since way before NIL. When Alabama was going on probation every year, before Nick Saban's friend became the head of the NCAA, and Alabama suddenly started winning more and committing less recruiting violations. Interesting how that worked out. It's always been about money with the defensive line. So scarce. It is a hard position to find. There aren't that many guys with the body type, so you got to pay them. So be part of the solution. Join CanesConnection.com/CIS. Make sure you get that /CIS. Get access to private Zoom chats with myself, where I give you the breaking news or just the inside scoop I can't give you in a public forum, because I'm worried about Gators or Knowles and whoever else taking it. CanesConnection.com/CIS. All kinds of benefits, private events with players, and just really the feeling of being part of the solution, being part of the reason why we're getting better on the field, being part of the reason why Cam Ward's throwing touchdowns, being part of the reason why Justin Scott and Marquise Lightfoot getting sacks here this fall. Be part of it. Join CanesConnection.com. Make sure you get that /CIS so you get all those extra benefits as far as private Zooms, etc. And again, appreciate everybody who is part of the solution. If you're not, come aboard, man. CanesConnection.com. We need you. We need you. We got people on board. We need more. We need you. That's what this is about. So CanesConnection.com/CIS. So yeah, defensive line recruiting. Look, names on just big names. Not even just the guys we're after, just the biggest kind of marquee names. Anthony Jones, a 5-star player, visited last week. Miami Auburn battle. You feel good there. We talked about that one ad nauseum. I think we got a great chance with that one. A guy that we don't talk about a lot. Make sure I pronounce the name right, because I screw it up every single time. But Jaquez Wilkes, who I believe is visiting this week coming up from Wadley, Alabama, out there in the sticks. He's visiting actually the 20th out of Wadley, Alabama. Guy visited in the spring. Jason Taylor's visited him in person. Major stud, top 100 player. That's a defensive end. Bryce Perra-Wright, who's like that Ruben Bain, Akeem Messidor, moving around all over the place. Defensive lineman visited this past weekend, also visited in spring. Lamar Brown visited last week. Best defensive lineman in the country, one of the best overall players in the country. These are pretty good names. James Johnson, had a good visit here from Fort Myers, now Miami Northwestern. Miami battling teams like Georgia for this player. On3's got him as the number 1 defensive tackle. So, these are the guys visiting. These are pretty big names. You got to land them, but defensive linemen, they don't come off the board that easy. You got to scratch, claw. Think about Justin Scott. Think about Lightfoot. I think those guys were all kind of in the middle of – I think Life was in the middle of summer. Scott was in the middle of summer. Then you flipped him during the season. Armando Blunt, you flipped at the end. Hayden Lowe, you flipped at the end. So these defensive linemen, they're battles, man, and you just got to keep on grinding.
Well, and look, Heart of Sports, he says, I agree, Pete. I like the guys we're going after. They're all top tier. Lamar, James, right? But what happens when you strike out on all of them and they all have many seasons? You're not going to land all of these guys, right? I don't think you strike out on all of them. I think you do land one of these guys that were mentioned here, maybe 2 in a dream scenario. But you said, what do you do when you strike out on those guys? Last week, you had guys like Freddie Wilson, Tyson Bacon visiting that are projectable players that I think that are kind of in that. Listen, they might take those guys right now, but there are other names out there that they're recruiting that may not be as nationally known as these 5 stars.
100%. We talked about guys like Freddie Wilson, who I think is going to be a solid depth piece if we go in that direction, who visited this past weekend, which I think, again, we should take numbers at some of these spots so we're not going to the portal for depth. Daniel Norman, a potential developmental guy from St. Thomas, who's still getting better, could have a huge senior year. Those are just some of the names. I think we're going to take, Keyshawn Stansel is a 4-star player. Miami's in good shape with. He has a lot of visits coming up. Schools like Clemson, et cetera, Tennessee. But Miami's in a good place there. Tyson Bacon, they're battling. Miami's in the mix for a lot of defensive linemen, man. And these are guys, here's the key. Allow me to repeat this because I think this is very important. These are guys that visited in spring and are making return visits for officials. You're not going to get all those guys. But when you have multiple visits, usually you have a pretty good chance. So I think we're in good shape at defensive line, but you got to get them in the boat, right? Right now, it's just speculation. But I feel good about the guys that are finding their way on campus.
We mentioned this pretty much after every OV weekend as people are asking for the commits, but it's a good comment here by C. Marquise Smith. Says this isn't 2012, recruiting's changed. Big time recruits aren't committing on official visits or right after, at least not publicly. It's about leverage and it's smart business. Got to practice patience and trust Coach Mario Cristobal. 100%, man. These guys, although, because before, man, you could be coming off that high of the visit, just get that gut feeling and say, this is where I want to go. This is the staff I have the best relationship with. This is the best fit for me. I love the campus. I love everything that's going on. And guys can still get that feeling, but you still have to then go back to the table and say, okay, this is the opportunities in front of me from a financial standpoint, from an NIL standpoint. This is what I feel about the school. There's a lot of things that come into play now where it's very, as you said in this comment, it's not the smart business move to just commit right after the visit. So
yeah, but like I said, I feel there's enough defensive linemen that have visited twice or more times that had good official visits that I feel good. Now, look, you're battling Texas A&M on half these kids. You're battling, Georgia on half these kids, right? You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Texas, same thing. It's a matter of they're not going to sign everybody. They're not going to win every battle. And in the battles they do win, that takes up some spot, that takes up some money. So, they're fighting their own battles for other kids that we're not after. So it's about being in the mix for a lot of these top names. And then I think we'll get some of them.
Rob says fan base getting spoiled on what we expect to land, and I'm here for it. Listen, before the fan base would get excited about, the occasional 5-star that would visit, right? You're getting them on campus so consistently now that it's like, yes, as we just said, you're not going to land all of them. You're not going to land 50% of them. You land one here, you land one there, and you look back on it a couple of years down the line, you say, yeah, you've landed the most blue chip prospects on the defensive line now in the last 3 seasons, because you can't land them all in 1 year, but you land 1 this year, 2 next year, 1 the year after, and they start stacking up. And then you look at your roster and say, we got 5 or 6 of these guys now. So,
yeah, look, and I'm not worried about, to your point, Pete, I'm not worried about getting these guys. I really think we're going to get some good ones, highly recruited ones. I'm worried about the guys that we have, meaning Justin Scott, Marquise Lightfoot, Armando Blunt, Hayden Lowe, and top of Ruben Bain, and guys like
Messidor.
That. Right. I'm worried about those guys developing into day 1, early day 2 players, right?
Right.
I think the key to Miami from where we are now, which is a good team, we're a relevant team. This is not, Manny Diaz, late Mark Richt, Golden Shannon era. I mean, this is a good, respected team with NFL talent that's projected to be a real team next year. To get from there to elite, you need Ruben Bain to be a first-round pick like he's projected to be, on top of being a dominant college player. You need Armando Blunt with his power, with his size, with his athletic ability, his IQ, his youth, to really develop into a dude, right, that we see in mock drafts. He has all those traits. Hayden Lowe, P, we saw him in person. The guy is, he is an absolutely enormous defensive end who's also twitchy and explosive and plays very hard and physical on top of being really, really smart, just like Blunt. Those are two really, really smart guys, like high-end IQ guys. We need that to become, we need him to become a first, second round pick. That's what 5 stars are supposed to do. We need Justin Scott to be that guy starting this year, right? Where then next year he goes in there as a projected first round pick. We need Marquise Lightfoot to show you that pass rush impact. He had a great spring. Let these guys turn into that, and this is going to be an elite team going forward.